welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D Collective. So, as we conclude with our lovely story and or stories, standing up for yourself with love and integrity and without hurting another. If you tune into the previous episodes, anybody who's new, you'll get the gist of what we're discussing. But if you don't want to, just FYI, we're whole inner children here. So, to be mindfully living and loving, or 5D mystic, if you will, you are your own mother, your own heart and body open to love and all. You are your own father, your own open mind, and it's an integrated. So you're your own star baby, eternal child. You are not an orphan, and you don't have disowned or shadow parts. So you are capable of seeing, soothing, safe, and secure to be yourself fully, okay? And some of us, we are also connected to that, which is Anima Mundi, so pure consciousness. Every person has their own capacity to reach that relationship. It's when you have an integrated brain, restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. Here's your potential mentor if you want, if you need, and or you are your own mentor, either or, you're not orphaned. So mentorship is something where we get to show each other the way, we stand, we walk, and we talk. And that's with knowing there's no wrong paths, but there's two paths for sure. Human love narrative group, human suffering. The ones who want to stay in suffering, they don't want to do mindfulness, living, loving, or any regulation. In fact, they're the ones who will be bringing forth the hurting. Okay, so the stories of those who don't care what they bring to the table, and that's because, though, they are in their biological rudeness. So biological rude is not a conscious choice. If you tuned into any of the other episodes, you will have heard the stories. And that's why we don't hold people accountable, I don't, for their insecurities, especially when I notice they're not going to go heal themselves. It means that they decided they're going to live like Cusco. And I got plenty of facade people out there. So they're just as beautiful as can be, but they don't take what they bring to the table and never really take what they bring to the table. Because that's what happens when you're not self-aware, accountable, regulating, and you don't want your child parts to be uncharged, and you don't want to be your higher self. So you don't want to be a self-regulating, accountable, and again, attuning person in a healthy way. So when instead you do, that's why you want to stand up for yourself with love and integrity. You know why? Because I'm imperfect and flawed. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Now, here's where I can end up hurting your feelings. You know what I do when that happens? I apologize, even if I'm not in the wrong. And people say, well, why would you? Because I do care about your feelings. And I do want you to know that. And because I know that no matter what is going on, it's not that big of a deal because we're different. I'm not offended because I'm empowered, you see? So when we're all pure consciousness. And at the end of the day, I'm a tree. You're a tree. I get to choose what tree I want to be. I like what Jesus taught me in God. I like the humble energetic imprint and humility, and I love being able to tap into that which is infinity. So the mystic here, remember, I'm spiritual, and then pseudoscience lady. The sciences help me to expand and explore and learn with you and help you to get where you want to be and help you to note if something is needing more attention than not. Okay, so with this story, what I wanted to hone in, one, men, women, the ones who are in their shame, blame, fault, revenge are not to be trusted. They are flags in the wind. That's how I'm going to bring it. So their vindictiveness, anything that is unresolved, they can have triggers, you name it. So if I spot a flag in the wind, the very basic, I have facade people, they're Cusco. So I know that they can be unkind. They can go from moody to not moody, and, they're not trusted in the sense of they can use something against me. And, the reality is, though, they are trusted as people that I will have in my life. What I'm saying is that they won't be a person who's consistently unconditionally loving, consistently my friend, consistently, expanding with me, consistently in certain types of modes. So the reality is we don't really need to trust someone with our thoughts or emotions when we are internally securely attached, which is what I am, which is what anybody who is wanting to be there, you can do that here. So being yourself, when you're internally securely attached, you're not offended. You're going to go share with your friends something that happened. That's it. You get over it. This is where the self is a verb. When you're whole self and when you own the sense of self, the core, narrative, relational, and solo self, and you live true spirituality. So our awakening and our capacity to be here is by our volition. It's not a twin flame that helps you to understand spirituality or to awaken. The twin flame connection is what allows you to enter into a whole new world, yes, but it is not why you become your self. And I'm going to bring it to you in two ways, because some of you don't have a twin flame. So some of you will have what could have been the one that you would marry. And then you move into more, for some of us, than the ones. And so some of us are, again, the solo poly community here. We're securely attached. So we have more than one secure connection. We have more than one. Depends. But there are safe havens, some secure base. Depends on everybody's different. No, we're not all masochists at all, actually. Not at all if you're a healthy, self-worth, securely attached person. And we don't say, you're not poly enough. Those are all people who are part of a trending bandwagon. Anytime you see somebody doing any of that stuff in that tone, you're going to notice, okay? And when you meet empowered men and women, we get to have fun talking about the differences. And that's why some will be curious and others will be funny. One of my friends I'm thinking about right now. So anyways, back to our other stories. And I find it really positive, personally, that the younger generations have good therapists. And that way they can all become securely attached. And so they can know what true love is versus the toxic men and toxic women who think that it's only monogamy or monoamory, that it's only in a church or not a church. I mean, really, there's toxic people anywhere. So the part about being able to be smart enough to know that you meet healthy self-worth people when you notice how they treat their self and how they treat others. Always, not just sometimes. If they're in a mood and they flip it up, you got a person who doesn't know how to regulate, which means they're unreliable. Automatically means they're not emotionally available to the depths of their own self, because otherwise they would know how to bring themselves into the picture. When you're controlling yourself and not mastering yourself, that's also where you're actually still rigid. And so you want to be able to move and gravitate towards softness of emotions and thoughts if you're mastering. If you're not, then you're still in your... Okay, so the blending and unblending is very important for those who have their child parts still charged. So you want to be able to identify them, to reparent yourself, and then to learn what your triggers are. And then, so people who do a journey, that's why they become reliable. And in fact, we grow relationships with those who are healing trauma and those who want to have healthy self-worth relationships. The relationships with the ones who are not healing are basically where we have funny stories, and they continue to eventually just be who they are. So you notice their patterns, their pattern. That's it. So in this case, again, they won't apologize because they don't really have the depths of awareness of self in the way that those of us who have. I never walked 2 days in your shoes. You know, so again, if you bring me something because you got offended, I'm going to apologize because I didn't walk in your shoes and because your emotions and your feelings matter to me. And it's not about right or wrong. Right or wrong is for teenagers, adaptive child part people. This is a rigid, it's a closed-minded human being. They're not bilaterally integrated. Okay, so they're continuing with unflexibility, and that's not mindfully living. Okay, so mindfully living means I'm able to be flexible. So I notice you have a mood this year, next year, 2 years from now, it's gonna come and go. So I don't break the relationship off. This is in general. Okay, so with that being said, I stand up for myself with love and integrity. And even if you are in this space, I personally am gonna leave it alone. So if I've done something to hurt a person's feelings, I'll apologize. I'll hear what they have to say. I'll recalibrate, and then I will meet whatever they want. If I can meet it. If I can't, I'll say, I'm so sorry, but I can't meet what you want. I understand that it hurts, so, you know, I get it if you don't ever want to see me again, and that's how you handle it. You handle very straightforwardly. And I've had some people who don't, in the years, want to be friends with me. Others, we recalibrated, and plenty of stories that I've shared with my lovely listeners on the audio IHP. So this one is where I'm just going to say, men who are bitter because they've been rejected, but who don't listen to empowered women who support them. And when I say listen, it's because they will have asked support, not because you will have offered it free. No, it's when you get asked, so what would you do? How would you? And you're talking. Okay, so the minute that and this is more than one man friend that I've had before that has gotten bitter because of their own bad relationships, but we had been year after year talking about it, so they did get input. But here's the deal: when you don't go and head on over to therapy to get yourself into your inner child adults, you're going to keep on dating the ones that your unsecure gut calls to. So your 0 to 8 year old, which is where people who don't care to, again, own themselves, they just say, oh, it's the man, oh, it's the woman, oh, it's the they, oh, it's whatever, and they create those generalizations, and then they keep on doing their moody thing. So I am basically in a conversation where it's pretty bad. It's like horrible. And with that, I leave the conversation not actually wanting to call back. But because I do have to, out of the integrity of me, call back, I make this decision. I say, okay, I'm going to have to call because I owe them money because I lose a bet. But I'm going to let them know how I felt about this entire conversation, because the reality is it was such a brutal one. I mean, I even got talked about there's a club of men who like physically want to hurt women, and I'm thinking, what are you talking to me about this right now, and you're wanting to join them, and why are we having and so it was completely awful. But I knew what had happened previously, so I know that there's a mood in the room. But long story short, when I get to call them back, they definitely take ownership a little bit of it. But the difference is when you are simply, the mood is gone, now I'm better, I realize what I've done, and there you go, versus actively understanding what you brought to another person. That's something only if you're healing from aspects, because you take yourself seriously, though. And you take yourself seriously because you take all that is new information, I'm going to say, out there. And that means you're aware enough to know when you're bringing unkindness, and when you're bringing bitterness, and when you're bringing stereotypes, and when you're bringing projection of trust breaks, trauma. And it's not only men. I've seen women do it. So women, men, different political groups are doing it, religious groups, they're all doing it. Anytime I'm seeing anybody who is presenting to each other all or nothing, and or gets into these moods because of what they've been through, you have people who are not standing up for their self with love and integrity and without hurting another. No, they're bringing into the room what they have that hurts, and that is making them angry and upset, and their dysregulated nervous system is what you got in a room. So for me, the one-to-one stories that I share, not a big deal. When I see what I see on YouTube, again, just reminds me of teenagers, and that's about it. Limited consciousness is very clear to those of us who have the unlimited consciousness because of the high emotional, mental, and physical intelligence due to our choosing of love from here. You can't have an integrated brain if you're not allowing the depths of your emotional experience to come on up, and the depths of your mental experience to evaluate what's coming up, and then to mindfully, with neutrality in duality, look and say, and I'm not going to bring it to the room. So functional adults, as Terry Real would point out, they bring to you, here's my feelings, here's my thoughts, here's what happened, here's my story. I don't bring it to you as it's an irrefutable fact. No, I bring to you, here's how it felt. Here's what, like with my friend, here's how it felt to have you bet against me in one of the most amazing moments of my life. You won the bet. This is the only reason I'm calling you, so I can pay you the money, because it's a bet I can meet. So, and even if I couldn't, I would be like, hey, I need to make a payment plan because I owe you shit. But I wasn't ever going to call you back because you were actually not a really good friend, and more than just that, a bad example of a man. I didn't say those words, but basically, here's where, ladies, please, I won't pick the bear. I want the men that need Terry Real to go to Terry Real, but that's the part. They have to want to go, and they don't. In fact, I have plenty more stories that I could share about the flags in the wind, which is why unimpressed I am when I see anyone who's speaking with any level of gender stereotypes, for that matter, because it makes me think of my college years when I learned in sociology how the smart sociologists know how we want to move forward with this. And then there's the other group. So we always have two groups. Why? Well, because what would life be without options? So in the meantime, though, as Robert Sapolsky says, determined life without free will, I think we have more free will. No, I think we have the same amount of opportunity, because you follow people that you want to follow. You hear people you want to hear, and then you make with it what you will. The ones who choose love, that's why we're here. We choose love because it's easy for us, but it's not always easy for others, and they don't have it easy because they didn't get it to begin with. And by being treated with love, respect, acceptance, integrity, we will be able to share a different feeling than the shaming, blaming, faulting, and or avenging, and or the one that will treat them in a way that they were already treated, which gives them, at the very bare minimum, a different sensation. So you are making a difference in that I'm calling to your body the social engagement system. I'm also calling to your body the humanity between each other, and therefore I do present to you an opportunity to expand. You don't have to take it, which is why I won't change you. No, you're the one who chooses if you are okay with your behavior and the way you address something. And if you are, I won't be making it into a characterological distinction or judgment. I will not cast a stone, because I will not play God. I will not play martyr superior. I will not play anything. I will play nothing except for a person who can understand, hey, I can have a mood too today, and I might do something that'll hurt your feelings, and I'll say I'm sorry. And that's actually as straightforward as it gets. Plenty of people who will tell you about our relationship where I know that as a person, for them, I didn't come to them and support them the way they felt I should have, could have, and that they didn't feel seen, soothed, or safe with me. I didn't do it to hurt their feelings, but my way of being with them minimized that which they will have felt important. That's exactly how it works when you have humility. Is I know that I will think and feel differently things. So of course I'm going to say I'm sorry. I will acknowledge your emotions, but I will also acknowledge I don't do Maria that way. No, if we're incompatible, this is the day of truth. Let me shake your hand. Thank you so much. We obviously are not able to give each other that which would create a secure connection. Doesn't happen quite often at all. In fact, I don't have any relationships that have gone that path, except for the ones who chose that they don't want to be friends with me. 1, 2, there's reasons for that. They're women. Then, well, yeah, 2 that I can think of. Other than that, I've had a couple. We recalibrated, and that is because of the time that it takes for us to create sometimes our harmony, because, we all have differences. So again, it's when we can respect each other's differences, acknowledge it, and differentiation and linkage is what creates, as Dr. Daniel Siegel would call it, a moi. There's Maria, and then there's you. The selves become not whole, because you don't want to blend or mesh or whatever. It's no, you're a whole self, I'm a whole self, and together we have a good time. And that's even when we get through our hurdles. We have even better of a time. In fact, actually, those are the relationships you really have a good time with. So like even my friend, the one that that he won the bet, everything is good, and that other friend. So at the end of the day, let's take it one day at a time. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful day. Like and share and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And we'll be back again maybe tomorrow.